All right. Hello there. Welcome to the channel. My name is James, and here at 20th and 21st Movies, we are about all things cinema. All right. I am recording this on the day after Independence Day, the early morning hours of July the 5th. And I just want to share my thoughts on a recent release from the Criterion Collection, a 4K upgrade of a title from director David Lynch, and that is this 4K of Blue Velvet. Blue Velvet. So I'm going to share my thoughts on this title on this day after the holiday. I hope you had a fantastic 4th of July with the family. And so I want to share my thoughts on this title. I'm going to talk about the movie, I'm going to talk about the director a little bit, I'm going to share a little bit about the characters in this amazing story. I'm going to talk about the picture quality because a lot of you are probably thinking, this is the Barnes& and Noble sale, of course, going on until July the 28th. So it's a great time to pick this title up potentially if you're interested. Some of you fall in the camp of you have this title already on Blu-ray and you're wondering, hey, is this worth an upgrade? Some of you don't have the title at all and you're wondering whether or not you should pick it up to begin with. So whichever camp you fall into, I got a little bit to say about this title that may help you make a decision one way or the other about whether or not this title is for you or not. So on the other side of this, we'll get into it. Let's do this. So almost 24 hours ago around this time, we were getting ready for the Peachtree Road Race. And a couple hours after that, had finished that wonderful race. Been doing it for probably about 20 years now. Not every single year, but I've done it. My wife and I, we've done it probably about a dozen times over the last 20 years. And it is an absolute fun time in the city of Atlanta, Georgia. Just great time with about 50 or 60,000 other people running a 10K. I think it's the world's largest 10K, they say, but it's done every 4th of July and fortunately, it's staged early in the morning before it gets super hot. But yeah, this is
from Lennon Square all the way here to
Another Peachtree Road Race in the books, baby. Woo! We did it.
So I am now in full recovery mode after that. And, I tell you what, you end up doing about 10 miles by the time you walk 2 miles to the start point, run and walk the 6 miles, and then walk another 2 miles to get to the MARTA bus to ride back to the MARTA station to get your car. You've done about 10 miles, but it's an absolute hoot every year and we enjoy doing it. But yeah, I just want to share my thoughts on Blue Velvet, the new 4K release from the Criterion Collection. This is an upgrade of Spine 977 in the Criterion Collection. I have had this Blu-ray right here in my collection for a number of years. Now I have the 4K. I've had a chance to do a comparison, so I do want to share some thoughts on that because I know a lot of you are thinking about that. But let's just share a little bit about this film here from director David Lynch. Of course, this is Blue Velvet. It is just a fascinating story, a very complex story that goes into a lot of different themes. I'll share a little bit from the back here of the case. It says, Blue Velvet, home from college, Jeffrey Beaumont, Kyle MacLachlan makes an unsettling discovery: a severed human ear lying in a field, a severed human ear lying in a field. In the mystery that follows, by turns terrifying and darkly funny, writer-director David Lynch burrows deep beneath the picturesque surfaces of small-town life. Driven to investigate, Jeffrey finds himself drawing closer to his fellow amateur sleuth, Sandy Williams, played by Laura Dern. This is, of course, very early in her career as well as their person of interest, lounge singer Dorothy Valance, played by Isabella Rossellini, and facing the fury of Frank Booth, Dennis Hopper, a psychopath. That is an understatement. Dennis Hopper is completely off the farm in this movie, man. He's a psychopath who will stop at nothing to keep Dorothy in his grasp. With intense performances and hauntingly powerful scenes and images, Blue Velvet is an unforgettable vision of innocence lost in one of the most influential American films of the late 20th century. It's an absolutely fantastic film. It's one of my favorite films from David Lynch, up there with Mulholland Drive, The Lost Highway. Just absolutely phenomenal film from this director. Of course, this is David Lynch right here. This is the theatrical poster you see here with Kyle MacLachlan and Isabella Rossellini, two of the main characters. Of course, in this film, you have a young Kyle MacLachlan as Jeffrey Beaumont. He's the young man who finds this severed ear in a field. Laura Dern plays Sandy Williams. She's the daughter of the police detective. When Jeffrey Beaumont finds a severed ear, he takes it to the police station, takes it to Detective Williams. He's the father of Laura Dern's character here, Sandy Williams. And you have this woman, Isabella Rossellini. She's a nightclub singer. She sings the song Blue Velvet and other songs at this nightclub. And she's got some complications going on in her life with some entanglements with men who have basically have some loved ones of hers in captivity. And it creates some complications in this story. And you dive into a lot of different areas in this fascinating story with this complex character. So she plays Dorothy Valens in this film. Just an absolutely terrific performance from her. Awesome performances from Kyle MacLachlan as Jeffrey Beaumont, playing this young man trying to figure out what's going on in this mystery and figuring out who this woman is and what's going on in her life and how he could potentially help her. And of course, there's some complications in that relationship as he's sort of playing a hero, but also getting entangled. And then, of course, there's a love interest there with Sandy here, played by the wonderful Laura Dern. She plays sort of the innocence angle of things. So very, very fascinating characters. You had the mystery of the ear and the singer, of course. Kyle MacLachlan's character, Jeffrey Beaumont, finds his ear in a field, and he brings it to the detective, and that leads him to following this woman, Dorothy Valens, and figuring out who she is, who are the men that are involved in her life, and what are they doing? What do they have over her? What is going on? That is part of the mystery of the ear and the singer. Who did the ear come from? How did it get in the field? What happened? Is the person dead or alive that the ear came from? These are all things that are going through your head as you're watching this film. Dennis Hopper, he played this psychopath in this film, Frank Booth. Of course, Dennis Hopper is involved with Dorothy Valens, Isabella Rossellini's character. There's abuse going on. There's control. There's some very interesting dynamics between him and her. He's a very vulgar, intense character, and he's just completely off the farm in this film. And he is definitely one of the highlights of this film in terms of the entertainment value. Just incredible. Dean Stockwell, the wonderful Dean Stockwell, who of course played in Paris, Texas, which I highly recommend in the Criterion collection. He played in Paris, Texas. He also played in Blue Velvet here. I guess those films were about a year or two apart. So this is around the time frame that he was in both of these films, between Blue Velvet and Paris, Texas. In this film, Blue Velvet, he played Ben, sort of a side character, not a big part in this story, but you definitely can appreciate his performance. George Dickerson played the father of Laura Dern's character. So he played Detective Williams in this movie. And of course, this film, I think, does part of what makes this film fascinating is the complexity of the relationships. Obviously, you have Jeffrey and Sandy. You have that love interest, going on between those two characters and their relationship. But then you have that complexity there of, Jeffrey getting sort of entangled, not sort of getting entangled with Dorothy. And that creates a dynamic there. He's trying to help her, trying to save her, but he goes a little bit far in trying to save her in terms of getting entangled, and things become sensual there. So in their relationship, which creates a lot of complicated dynamics. And part of the fun of watching this film is just seeing those complicated relationship dynamics play out as they're also trying to solve this mystery. And you have these beautiful roses at the beginning of the film. So yeah, just wanted to show you a little bit of the little bit about this film. Of course, some of the key, characters, of course, Jeffrey Beaumont, Dorothy Valens, Frank Booth, Sandy Williams, Jeffrey Beaumont being played by Kyle MacLachlan. Just a fantastic performance from this actor. Of course, this is one of his early performances, and I think he does a great job as a college student who, comes across this severed ear. So you see, his working with the police detective Williams. You also see some aspects of his family life with his mom and his aunt. And you just sort of get to understand a little bit about who he is as a person as he's trying to solve this mystery and getting involved in these complex relationships, and also getting involved in a level of danger, given that Frank Booth, played by Dennis Hopper, is an absolute psychopath and will stop at nothing to keep his control over Dorothy Valens. And then, of course, you have Sandy Williams, played by Laura Dern, and she just is a wonderfully sweet and innocent character who, in the midst of all this complexity and this danger, she plays that bit of suburban innocence that brings some additional texture to this film. And then of course, the mysterious and the sensual Dorothy Valens, played by Isabella Rossellini, she brings an awesome dynamic as well. So just a lot of things going on in this film. You have the duality of human nature, in the sense of, you see the idyllic suburban life, but then you also see the seedy underworld of crime that's going on, and corruption in this film. They're sort of juxtaposed together, seeing that wonderful American apple pie and everything is wonderful, Leave It to Beaver side of things. But then you're also seeing this very seedy underworld where things are nasty and vulgar, all kind of clashing together in this amazing, amazing film. You have some voyeurism and curiosity going on, where you have Jeffrey finding this severed ear, coming into contact with Dorothy Valens, being fascinated with her. Kind of, there's some voyeurism going on there. So that's another dynamic and theme of this film. Abuse and power dynamics between Frank Booth, the psychopath, and Dorothy Valens. You see that going on. And then, of course, innocence and corruption, where you have Laura Dern's character, Sandy Williams, the daughter of the detective. She's just sweet as apple pie and innocent in this world around her that is very corrupt and evil. So a lot of these themes being masterfully balanced by the artist that is David Lynch in this film, Blue Velvet. So yeah, I absolutely love this. I absolutely love this film from David Lynch. It is one of my favorites from his. I think it is probably one of the more approachable films from his, much more than, say, Mulholland Drive or Inland Empire or Lost Highway. This is a much more approachable film, similar to The Elephant Man. It's a little bit more straightforward and not as esoteric, so to speak. It is just an absolutely fantastic film that I think a lot of people can appreciate, and definitely one I can recommend just based on the film itself for this Criterion sale. Now, the part that I want to get to is that I think a lot of people are wondering about is, of course, this is a 4K Ultra HD release. What is the quality of this 4K release? And then for those of you that already have the Blu-ray, so if you're one of the people like myself who have this existing Blu-ray here, which came out a number of years ago. I don't remember when, but probably about, I don't even want to guess. It came out about 6 or 7 years ago, or what have you. I'll put it up on the screen. Is this a worthy upgrade? Is this worth making the upgrade to 4K if you already have the Blu-ray? So I'll answer that right now. First off, I'll just say this 4K Ultra HD disc of Blue Velvet looks absolutely amazing. It is a beautiful 4K restoration on a 4K disc, and it looks wonderful. When you look across all aspects of picture quality, detail, the definition, contrast, the cleanness of the image, it looks beautifully clean. I think the grain is beautifully resolved on this 4K disc. The colors pop very nicely with that HDR, but not in a gaudy way. They're just a little bit more vibrant than say on the Blu-ray. And overall, it's just a really nice picture. It's clean. Um, you have nice black levels, nice contrast, really all the elements of picture quality that you would look for in a quality 4K disc in terms of detail, definition, depth, clarity. It's all there in this beautifully presented film. And so, from a 4K picture quality, this looks absolutely wonderful. It is a high quality 4K disc. Is it the best I've ever seen? No, but it is an absolutely solid 4K presentation. And in terms of how it compares to the Blu-ray, it is an uptick in quality over this standard Blu-ray from several years ago. Now, in terms of how much of an upgrade is it, I'll tell you from my own personal experience, having looked at both of these, having watched this in 4K Ultra HD with the Dolby Vision turned on on two of my 4K TVs, and then watching this on Blu-ray as on the standard Blu-ray on those same two TVs and doing a sort of a back and forth comparison. To be completely honest, while the 4K picture is definitely a step up in picture quality, when you look at the incremental uptick in resolution with that HDR giving you a little bit more vibrancy in the colors, the grain is resolved a little bit better. You're getting just nice little upticks of improvement across all the areas of picture quality, and you have a more vivid, vibrant image overall. But I don't think it is an absolute, game-changing difference over the standard Blu-ray that came out several years ago. And I think the reason for that, and this is something I find in a lot of these situations where the standard Blu-ray was based on at the time, a new 4K digital restoration, and that same 4K restoration is put on this 4K disc. So you're talking about a Blu-ray that was based on the same 4K restoration that this new 4K is based on. So they're using the same restoration, but you do get the benefit of that additional resolution. You get the benefit of that HDR giving you a little bit more vibrancy in the colors, a little bit more contrast, a little bit of an extended dynamic range. And it results in an overall slightly better picture, but just not, in my opinion, a game-changing picture that I could come on here and say that it's a upgrade you absolutely must have. I think if you have this standard Blu-ray, you have this film in an absolutely fantastic picture quality. This is a strong Blu-ray. So it's not a knock on the 4K to say that it's not a huge upgrade over the Blu-ray. It's just being compared to an already high quality Blu-ray to begin with. So if you already have the standard Blu-ray, I would say it's not an absolute must upgrade. But if this is one of your favorite films and you have to have this on the highest picture quality available, I would say that you do get a slight uptick in quality on the 4K disc that is appreciable. But of course, depending upon the distance that you're watching, your viewing distance from the screen, you're going to perceive a slight uptick in quality, but just not a game-changing difference. So I hope that helps in making your decision. Some of you will, based upon that, some of you may decide, you know what, I think I'm going to take that $25 in the sale, and instead of upgrading my Blue Velvet, maybe I'll get another title that I don't already have instead. So that may be a decision for some. If this is one of your favorite movies and you want to have it in the highest quality, then you may decide, you know what, I want Blue Velvet on that 4K, and you'll make that decision. So that's entirely up to you. All right. In terms of the special features, you have some really nice special features on here. Of course, you have, let's see here. You have some lost footage. So you have the 53 minutes of deleted scenes, which is really cool to see, and some alternate takes that were assembled by David Lynch. You have Blue Velvet Revisited, which is a feature-length meditation on the making of the movie by Peter Bratt. So he actually was able to get on set and record this feature-length documentary on the making of Blue Velvet. So you see a lot of behind-the-scenes looks at David Lynch directing the characters or the actors, and just the setups of how they set up these different scenes. So it's really interesting to see it from that standpoint. If you want to see that perspective, it can be a little illusion breaking, but it's also neat to see something like that, to see the behind the scenes of these films. You have Mysteries of Love, a 70-minute documentary from 2002 on the making of the film. You have a 2017 interview with composer Angelo Badalamenti. So you had that wonderful, wonderful opening medley, and composer Angelo Badalamenti composed that. So you have an interview with him. You have It's a Strange World, the filming of Blue Velvet, which is a 2019 documentary that features interviews with crew members and visits to the shooting locations. And then you also have this feature that's also appeared on other releases, David Lynch releases from Criterion, like The Elephant Man, where you have Lynch reading from Room to Dream, a 2018 book that he co-authored with Christine McKenna. So, definitely some nice special features there that gives you some additional depth of what this movie is about and the making of the movie, and getting a little bit into the mind of director David Lynch. So that is absolutely awesome. One thing also to consider that is that while you do get an uptick in picture quality with the 4K, the audio is the same. So it's the same 5.1 surround DTS HD master audio. So that is something that you'll want to consider as well with this particular release. But overall, this 4K of Blue Velvet comes highly recommended from me, especially if you don't already have the Blu-ray of this film from Criterion. If this is your first time getting this film, it's an absolute no-brainer. If you are a David Lynch fan, if you like his films, and this is a more accessible film, I would say, than some of his other films. This is definitely one that I would consider, especially if you're a fan of Kyle MacLachlan or Laura Dern. It's a great early performance from her. I think she was like 18 at the time. And this is very close to the time that she did the other film in the collection called Smooth Talk. So that's also a film I would highly recommend in the collection. So yeah, definitely high recommendation from me on this. And like I said, if you already own the Blu-ray, you would be getting a little bit of an upgrade in picture quality with the 4K. It's an absolutely beautiful picture. So if it's one of your favorite films and you want to have it on 4K, then the opportunity is there. And right now it's 50% off during the July sale. So there you have it. Those are my thoughts on the release of Blue Velvet on 4K from the Criterion Collection, spine number 977. It is a nice digipack edition, and I definitely recommend it. You see here the apartment number of Dorothy Valens here, 710. You see the little bird there with the with the insect there. That symbolism has some meaning. See the inside of the case here. Little stapled booklet, Blue Velvet. So yeah. This is a very nice edition from Criterion, and it comes highly recommended. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, what you think about this film. Let me know what some of your favorite films are from director David Lynch, and let me know what titles you are looking to pick up in this 50% off Criterion Collection sale at Barnes & Noble. Let me know all that goodness in the comment section below, and as always, thanks for watching, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time at the movies. Peace.